We are the WOW group from Centre Place in Worksop, and we have been working on our feature film, Something About Us, since July 2015. Worksop is our home and the home of the WOW group, and we think it deserves a little more attention, a little more history, a little more knowledge, a little something about us. We have been on several trips, including Nottinghamshire Pride, visited the Nottinghamshire and Sheffield Archives, and attended workshops to learn about LGBT history and filmmaking skills. Let's start in Worksop itself, where a lot of the activities happened. We began with an introductory historical workshop. Matt and Maxine will explain more.
Stood at the front and done the timeline thing. I was like, no rights at all for LGBT, and then I sort of went like the opposite side of the room to get away from Ashley, which was the one that was where we were in that point of time. It was teaching me that we sort of went from being okay with LGBT and then not being okay with it and then being okay with it again over like the space of 2,000 years.
Today we have been looking at where to find archives, where the best websites to find archives, looking at certain words and specific categories.
Looking through all the different things that we can look at when we go to the archives, and all the different search terms we can use to find different things, because they're not just LGBT.
The documentary what we saw about how we got gay actually hit me quite hard. It was a lot of information, historical information, which I didn't know at all. That the writing, I knew that people writed, but not to that extent, and all the other people who helped them along and other groups who supported them.
When I seen the documentary, I knew some things was happening with AIDS, but I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't know people were having riots about it, and I didn't know people from the riots were sort of going, yeah, you're not going to look into this, so we are.
And it was kind of the fact that someone said that if AIDS didn't come around then, that probably gay marriage probably wouldn't be legalised to this day. And that was quite that a horrible thing as AIDS dying actually brought something happen much quicker, like equality marriage and stuff like that. That it's a happy thing, that's a good thing, but it was a really bad, horrible way that people died basically, and it brought its stuff quicker and got people talking about it a lot more.
We had several digital media workshops where we learned about filmmaking and using equipment. This involved learning about the Canon C100, the Canon 5D, sound equipment and settings for making a film. We also learned how to use GoPro cameras, which became a bit of a crowd favourite.
On the Go camera you can actually video, you can take pictures, you can take multi-shots, and you can connect it to the tablet as well.
Which event are you most looking forward to film?
All of them! I get to be the camera guy. Messing about with the camera and filming people, just for fun. I've learnt how to use the camera because I didn't know that before.
Before we used them for the project filming, we tested them at a local park using chest harnesses, head straps and hand grips. Here are some other written reflections on learning filmmaking skills. At the Worksop Library, we looked at old maps and photos of Worksop, as well as looking at important historical places like the Priory Church. We had several people visit us throughout the project, including Colin, who delivered an oral history training session where we learned interviewing skills and put them into practice. We wanted to find out more about the history of the Centre Place, so we sorted through boxes of photos, documents and newspapers, scanning the relevant material to include within the film. Here is Liam to tell you more.
Today we found some really old photos from 1995, 1997, and there were some really good ones, some old photos of them when they're on residential, So What, which was quite a lot of them. Looking back at some of these photos, I mean, there's people that you walk past on the street and you wouldn't recognise them, but now looking at these photos, you're right as old as me, like 21, a bit more younger, a bit more older, and now like, you know, they've left Centre Place because of the age limit, and now it's just like realise, oh god, Centre Place has been around, like, you know, probably before I was born. I've found that looking at some of these old photos as well to do with the Centre Place, it brings my mind back as well, like when I first came here when I was 18 years old, and it's like, it makes you miss it because of all the company you used to have from the old people, the old guys and stuff, and now times change, more young people come and they'll start feeling like us, we all move on the nest. We've also done a bit more research onto before as well. We found some old photos where Jenny showed me on the website some old photos of the Worksop before the Centre Place was even constructed in the 1800s, I'm guessing. And this whole bit around here didn't really exist, it was just a corner, around the corner of some old houses and stuff, and the Centre Place actually used to be a Abbey community centre, so obviously I'm guessing that would be for elderly people. There used to be a caretaker that used to live next door and take care of things and stuff, so it's got quite a lot of past. But we've found quite a lot of history out for the Centre Place alone, and also the W.O.W group.
Another person who came to talk to us was Mark from Friends of Edward Carpenter, based in Sheffield. He delivered a talk on Edward Carpenter that Liam was very impressed with.
Today we learned about a guy called Edward Carpenter, and before I had no idea even it existed. Edward Carpenter was an LGBT man, and he lived within the 1800s. Edward Carpenter was a bloke basically who was like basically inspired us who we are today. And without Edward Carpenter, we wouldn't be like here today. And what he did is basically he was openly gay in the 1800s, and obviously you can imagine what that must bring. And what he inspired to do was change the way the world is. He thought that obviously the world wasn't fair. It wasn't. You know, everyone wasn't treated properly. People were treated with discrimination in all different aspects. It wasn't just LGBT he was fighting for. He was fighting for the fact that he wanted clean air with the industries, with all the coal and stuff. It was like very, very popular man. Without people like that today, or in the 1800s, before or soon after, we wouldn't be who we are today. Now, could you imagine a world the way it was in the 1800s? Can you imagine the catastrophic cruelty? Can you imagine all the cruelty built up over those years? It would be very, very hard to believe and very hurtful. What I've learned from this today is I've learned about a great man who did a great thing, who have done a great many things, I should say, and has inspired me to fight now for more LGBT in a more way which I wanted to fight before. I want to now fight for the same rights. I want to go into politics and I want to tell these people this is who we are, this is what we stand for.
Throughout the project, we've interviewed a lot of people from the local area. Let's start with the interviews that happened in Worksop. This included Shirley, who was involved with setting up W.O.W, Helen, the Centre Place manager, Claire, our support worker, and Mark from Friends of Edward Carpenter. Can you explain your own personal experiences, sort of growing up and just, coming out, and your story?
We've interviewed the landlord for the Queen's Head pub in Worksop, which is a known LGBT friendly bar. We're accepting of any sexuality, any preference. So it was nice to go there and experience a nice vibe. Second of all, we interviewed a parish, is it a parish? I believe so, yeah, at the Priory Church in Worksop. Obviously everyone has their own points of views, which I can totally respect. Everyone has their own point of views too, regardless if they don't agree with marriage or sexuality whatsoever or race. And at the end of the day, everyone has their own points of views. As long as they don't throw it in your face and use it quite offensively, it doesn't bother me. Everyone has their own views. But we did an interview on some subjects regarding gay marriage, regarding the church's option on gay marriage, the history of the Priory Church in general, how it would relate to some past experiences with LGBT people. He gave us a couple of views on the Church of England, which I actually found out today, which is quite a surprise and quite upsetting actually, that how an LGBT couple are not legally allowed to be married inside the church, but are legally allowed to be married, but not inside an England church, which is quite angry. Makes me quite angry, to say the least, because I don't see why anybody should have that power to say no to it, where people at the end of the day, we deserve our own rights. But don't get me wrong, the England Church, the Church of England has been around for a long time, which I can see why they have part of making laws and stuff.
So yeah, I learned a lot about this interesting fellow, about being a publisher, published his own books, written his own books. That's really interesting to find someone that's LGBT that I've seen in person can do that. It's given me a bit more information to like look for more of his work and to read through that, and how he's like not just done one book about his life, but split it up into different areas, and to write different books with his feelings. His generation of LGBT is totally different to ours, way different, and it's quite nice to see that a different era, well, not era, but a different generation telling their stories now to what I would tell my story, and to like what he's been through to what I've been through. It is different with age.
That's it for Worksop. Now let's move to Nottingham. David from Nottinghamshire's Rainbow Heritage delivered a workshop about their project, showing us examples of things they had documented. Matt also took the chance to practice his camera skills at the same time. We then interviewed David for our film. We went into the streets of Nottingham where Maxine and Matt asked the general public if they knew what LGBT stood for. We also interviewed Jess from Outburst, a support group similar to WOW for LGBT people in Nottingham.
From today in Nottinghamshire, we've been to a couple of pubs and we've interviewed quite a few members of staff, guests and even managers, and we've gathered some more information going back to the 40s, coming up to 2015 today, and it's been really good. We've gathered some really good information. We've been more focused on looking how gay bars were more welcoming in the 40s. Coming up to 2015, we've noticed that there's been quite a few not so much gay bars, but gay-friendly bars. Going back from the 40s with a man we've interviewed today was some really good information. Quite shocking to know that back in the 40s it was victimised, you could have been prosecuted for it, murdered, even keeping this very secret as if you were living like another life. It's quite harsh to know this. But from people like that, here we are today to be able to walk around holding our partner's hands and show respect of who we are. Interviewing's been really great. Got some more skills, so that's good. But I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. Talking and meeting some new people has been great. And obviously knowing that now I can come out around Nottinghamshire and celebrate in these local pubs, so it's been really good. But yeah, interviewing side has been great.
Here are some of the written reflections about the filming process. A big part of the project involved several trips to the Nottinghamshire Archives, where we used the research skills we had learned from the project to find information we could use in the films.
Today we've been looking at a couple of books to the 1800s talking about buggery for the LGBT project, and I'm quite happy to say we've found out quite a bit of information.
I've been looking more into John Scott today and his family and what he'd done and where he lived.
We did a bit of research on John Scott, who was 17 years old, who was convicted in the 1800s. He was a minor and he was caught trying a sexual act on another young minor, and he was also sentenced for it, which they called buggery back in the 1800s. We also did a bit more research on religion, of how they support the LGBT community, and we found out quite good stuff. Methodist churches are quite common in America and some throughout England, and what they do is that they help support the LGBT, as we found out, through prides, donations and so on, everyday life things, helping them with relationships, family problems and spiritual beliefs.
We looked at old maps of Worksop, focusing on the area where the centre place is now and what used to be there in the past. We also had a tour of the Nottinghamshire Archives, which involved going inside a very cold freezer where documents are stored and organised.
Yeah, there is. Staying in here. Don't want to do it. No, I can't. Come on, man. It's cold. Yeah, like. You probably just heard that kick in. Ooh!
We also found out about how documents are restored and repaired if they are submitted or found in bad condition. Liam got his hands on some gold. We went on a gay history walk with Tony around Nottingham. It focused on Robin Hood alongside historical sites in Nottingham. We captured it all using the GoPro cameras. We also attended a very busy Nottinghamshire Pride to get a feel for the local LGBT community.
Today has been Pride. We started off with a march. I was doing some of the filming, head cam shots in slow motion, and then ended up with another camera. Started getting some shots like from the front of the queue, turning around, getting shots from the back, getting different anglements each time. And then after the march, we came to the stall, did a few questions on people. Some that didn't want to be videoed, we did it audio. We actually got a good few people today. We got a few older generation, which was quite interesting. We got to know a bit from like when they was younger and coming out. We got an interview from a person that come from Italy. That was actually quite interesting. We found out that laws over there of being LGBT are different to what they are down here. It's actually been an experience that is different. 'Cause when I go to Pride, I don't normally do this, and this is actually quite an experience I'm looking forward to see after the final process. The thing I actually learned today, and it's actually helped my confidence. I actually interviewed some of the majority of the people, and that's something I've never done before actually, and I come across sort of like, at first I come across a bit nervous, but by the end of it, actually, I think I built a lot of confidence up in it.
Everywhere we go! Everywhere we go! People always ask us! People always ask us! Who we are! Where we come from! Where we come from! And we tell them! And we tell them! We're
Quite a few of them I could relate to them. I felt I've had homophobic abuse in the past, and how people what they were talking about what's happened to them in the past, I could relate to, but then also getting other people's opinions from school and young people and about school and the education on LGBT and history itself. Pretty much found out that there's no LGBT history being taught at all at school, and LGBT in general is now and then getting mentioned at school, not enough in my opinion. We've had a huge variety of people, LGBT or not, who have come and supported this amazing event, and their views on why it's still happening, and which was really, really good, that they said that yes, it still should be happening, that there's still a bit to go in the LGBT community and issues, but a lot of them have been solved or kind of been solved, and probably in the future be much better. That I think homophobia will still be around, but hopefully not as much. The parade was amazing. It gives me goosebumps every time, that the fact that there's people who's been going shopping, probably didn't even realise it was Nottingham Pride, and they're there taking videos and photos and cheering us on, and it was just absolutely brilliant. The amount of people who came, I've never been on Nottingham Pride Parade before, so it was really, really good, and I'll probably go again on one.
My task today was to look at the religion sector of it. So we talked to the Methodist Church, and the Methodist Church gave us some good feedback about different churches around Nottinghamshire, different churches that don't accept it as well, and bad experiences. And one of my favourites, Sodom and Gomorrah, a lady actually spoke about how it was to do with, in her eyes, a different culture going to a different land. And I've never heard that before, and I've never, I couldn't really figure that out, but now I put it together throughout the day thinking about it, I can understand where she's coming from, which was really good. But all in all, like I said, today's been a really good day. We've got some really good people down on camera who are willing to talk, some young people, some older generation. It was good, yeah. It was a really good day, and I'm looking forward to finishing and completing this and making a film out of it.
BT, fighting for equality. Gay, bi, trans, straight, we don't care, we're all mates. LGBT, we're fighting for equality. Gay, bi, trans, straight, we don't care, we're all mates.
Here are some written reflections about Nottinghamshire Pride. We went to the National Holocaust Museum in Laxton to learn about the persecution of minority groups during World War II. Harriet will tell you more.
So today we visited the Holocaust Memorial Centre in Ollerton, and we've been learning about what the Jews and other discriminated minorities went through during their time in the concentration camps and extermination camps. We've had a lecture also by one of the survivors of the Holocaust and her daughter, which was incredibly... it was a very personal recount of such a story and how they even survived through something as devastating as what they went through based on their experiences. A complete nutter by miracle and chance and luck, as well as having an immense attitude, which was astonishing to witness. It's in terms of what they did to the minorities and how they experimented and put them through these incredibly cruel and inhumane torture. It was just completely, you can't even begin to imagine that kind of suffering. And I think it's important that we reflect on this through our history, because these people are part of our history, and these are the things which should not happen in today's society, unfortunately. However, it still does, and maybe not in the same sense, but still in parts. And we have to learn to reflect on our past and learn from our past, and it's to say that we haven't is quite difficult to really think about in terms of those kind of situations.
We also travelled to Sheffield on a number of occasions. One of the visits was to the Sheffield Archives. Here we used our research skills to find out information to include in the film. For example, we found out about Thomas Rogers and the marriage that took place in 1817. We also looked at old books, magazines, documents, and researched on the computer. We also went to the Sheffield Local Studies, where we specifically found out more about Pride and events that took place in Sheffield.
I did discover Yorkshire's first Pride, and to me that's more like a connection for me, because obviously it was my first Pride. In 1968, Stonewall Inn was the only gay bar in New York City where you were allowed to dance. Like all New York gay bars, it was mafia owned, and they regularly paid off the police to allow it to exist. However, police raids were still common to a gay person, and when I say gay person, I refer to full LGBT spectrum. On June the 28th, 1968, the guys fought back when the Stonewall was raided that night. Cars was overturned, fires started, windows smashed, and policemen were taken on. If anyone was arrested and dragged away, the mob would rally and fight to get them back. Oh, that was actually quite hidden under the table. I mean, I knew there was a bit about the riots. They were going in, just police barging in whenever they felt like it. To discover that is actually quite what I was hoping for today, actually. So I can actually, digging deep, actually know more about the situation, see if there's anything else that I can dig up and hopefully lead it back to the 21st century.
Something we noticed throughout the entire project was a severe lack of historical information on trans people and trans issues. In January 2016, The Danish Girl was released in British cinema, and as part of the project we attended the screening. The film focused on the story of Lily Elbe, one of the first identifiable transgender women in the early 1900s, and therefore a very important figure in LGBT history. We then had to do a lot of editing to put together the two films. This involved learning about the editing software, Final Cut 10, techniques behind editing, and then working as a group to form a structure and include all the historical information. It has been a fantastic experience and we have learned a lot. We hope you enjoyed our film and also learned a little something about us for yourselves.
Yes, I'm wearing my chest harness. Can you stop getting close?
Tape 2 of the Nottinghamshire Archives. It went pretty well reading the books. We found out quite a few good details.
Liam Miller, what are you doing?
No, video doing a self diary. We found diary 3. Our first day at the Nottinghamshire Archives.
Diary 3 or tape 3?
On our first day, we looked at a couple of old books dating since the 18th century about buggery.
It was the 19th century, it was 1800s.
1800s, sorry. Tape 4. Tape 4 at the Nottinghamshire Archives. Tape 563 at the Nottinghamshire Archives. Today we did a couple of more research regarding the buggery during the so I can't take it no more. Hi, this is Liam and it's the 17th of July 2015 at the Nottinghamshire Archives on a Saturday. Friday.
And then a clap. So what things do you do at WOW on a weekly basis?
We arrive. Oh no, we
Let me
arrive.
start on a better one then, okay.
Yes, we went down to the...
Sorry. I had an itch, so I did a weird face. Okay.
We may do quizzes so that we could learn about LGBT history in a trivial manner.
This is not going well, so she needs to calm down. Well, when we go...
So we were involved in Idaho Bit, which is the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia.
That's it. That is literally it.